Tank Dell's fantasy value is not what you think. Why? Let's take a dive in. Nathaniel Jasper Dell Jr., otherwise known as Tank, started at Alabama A&M University before he transferred to the University of Houston, where he got national attention with over 1,300 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns, making him one of the top receivers in college football. Despite being relatively undersized at 5'10 and about 165 pounds, Dell's primary strength lies in his exceptional speed, agility, and quickness. He ran an official 4.49 second 40-yard dash at the 2023 NFL Scouting Combine, which may not seem elite, but his precise route running and ability to create separation makes him a nightmare for those defending him. Tank's game-breaking ability got him selected in the third round of the 2023 NFL Draft by the Houston Texans. Quarterback CJ Stroud, who was also drafted by the Texans that same year as the second overall pick, even advocated for the Texans to draft Dell, which they did. CJ and Tank have developed a notably close relationship since entering the NFL together in 2023. Their bond began at the Combine, and they've since spent significant time together in private workouts and developing an off-the-field friendship. Their deep bond is translated into their on-field chemistry, which was highlighted by Dell's impressive rookie season stats and several key plays between the two. In the 2023 season with the Texans, Tank made a notable impact as a rookie, with 47 receptions for 709 yards and 7 touchdowns. Some of his standout games include Week 3 versus the Jags, where Tank had 5 receptions for 145 yards and 1 touchdown. Week 9 versus the Bucs, where he had 6 receptions for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in Week 11 versus the Cards, where he posted an impressive 149 yards off 8 receptions, resulting in 1 TD. Tank was on pace for 1,000 yards in 2023. But his season was cut short when he suffered a fractured fibula in Week 13 against the Broncos in December. Arguably, no one was more devastated than Stroud, who was visibly upset about Tank's injury. Stroud referred to Dell as his best friend, and their connection was further evident when Stroud became emotional upon learning that Dell had been shot in a mass shooting incident on April 28, 2024. Luckily, it appears that Tank has turned the corner both on the injury and the shooting. On March 19, 2024, it was reported that Tank is well on the road to recovery and is already running at full speed. Per the Texans' official website, Tank said, quote, "It's been going great. I've been hitting the road full speed. Great recovery." After the late April shooting, Texans owner Cal McNair said that Tank will make a full recovery, and the team called it, quote, "a clean flesh wound," which appears to be minor. It was reported that Dell ran and performed drills on Saturday, May 18th, and has been since running routes at OTAs with no limitations. Given his year 1 breakout performance, it's no surprise that Tank has become a valuable fantasy football asset heading into year 2. But his value to the fantasy community isn't what you may expect. Let's look at all the angles for Tank in the SWOT analysis. First, his strengths. Tank has top 10 overall receiving upside, as demonstrated from his strong rookie season, which included WR1, 3, 6, 12, and 15 finishes. His chemistry with CJ Stroud is undeniable, and the QB is constantly looking to get the ball into Tank's hands for explosive, game-changing plays. Dell's 14.3 average depth of target was 12th in the NFL. He also averaged 2.36 yards per route run, which ranked 14th, and 9.5 yards per target, ranking 21st. Despite having only a 20.4% target share, he commanded targets on 24.9% of his routes. Tank also showcased his potential as a deep threat for the Texans, posting a 31% air yard share and over 1,000 air yards in just 10 games. Tank's obvious weaknesses are his fibula injury and the shooting, and now of course the re-injury risk. Even though he made a full recovery, these events could impact Tank's future performance and availability if there are lingering effects, especially with Dell's smaller stature. His main opportunities lie in building off a strong rookie season, which indicate his potential for growth. Tank's only 24 years old and just starting his career, so the chance to come back stronger with his first full offseason with the team also fares quite well for him. Competition for targets is his primary threat. The presence of other receivers like Nico Collins, who just secured a 3-year, $72.8 million contract extension, and the newly acquired Stephon Diggs could affect Dell's target share. It's worth noting that Tank was at his best with Nico on the field, averaging 13.43 fantasy points per game, Also, in the 7 full games that Dell and Nico played together, Dell bested him in every meaningful category. Dell led the duo in target share, 22.5 versus 22.1%, air yard share, 35.9 versus 25.3%, and weighted opportunity, 59.0 versus 50.9. Diggs, being another top-tier receiver, will likely command a substantial target share, potentially reducing the number of targets Dell receives. However, the reverse effect could also happen if Diggs draws significant defensive attention, which could open up more opportunities for Dell to exploit less coverage. Diggs will also be turning 31 years old this season, so there's a possibility he will show some signs of age. While Dell's volume could decrease, his efficiency and big play upside could improve due to the focus on Stephon Diggs. The other threat is his difficult strength of schedule for wide receivers, which is among the tougher in the league for 2024. The Houston Texans are tied for the 4th toughest schedule. That brings us to Tank Dell's fantasy value. In standard redraft leagues, Dell is projected to be a WR3/flex option with upside, going at an average ADP of WR30. Sleeper has him ranked highest at WR25, and his lowest is on real-time fantasy sports at about WR35. In PPR formats, Dell's value is highest, making him a strong WR2 or 3 option due to his added points from receptions. He projects slightly lower in half PPR, but it's still quite similar. But we know Tank has WR1 upside, as seen by his 10.7 fantasy points per game in standard leagues, which ranked 13 overall in 2023. Tank Dell's fantasy value for dynasty leagues is even more promising, placing him among the top young wide receivers. Fantasy Pros expert consensus dynasty rankings has Tank as the WR24. His youth, talent, strong QB connection, and potential for growth make him a worthwhile investment for fantasy managers looking for long-term assets. And finally, Dell's capital for rookie drafts is valued at about a mid to late first-round pick for 2024. Overall, Tank Dell's ADP as the 30th wide receiver, despite finishing as the 13th wide receiver in points per game last season, suggests a potential undervaluation by the fantasy football community. Even after you account for his injury, the addition of Diggs, and a tough schedule, drafting Tank Dell at his current ADP of WR30 could still provide significant theoretical value, as he has already proven capable of doing top 15 wide receiver numbers on a per-game basis. The gap between his performance and ADP may reflect a market inefficiency, where the fantasy community is just not fully accounting for Dell's potential and past performance. You could be getting a round 2 or 3 guy in round 6. Savvy fantasy managers can exploit this opportunity by drafting Dell earlier than his ADP suggests. Tank's value percentage differential between his ADP and fantasy points per game sits at a whopping 56.7%, which is just way too big to ignore. Overall, Tank has a positive expected fantasy value and is being undervalued up to 57% in drafts relative to his performance. Tank is a highly valuable pick this year with significant upside for 2024 fantasy football. Do not leave your drafts without him.